to unveil our look at our 2026 budget. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and it's a real pleasure to be here today to walk you through this budget. Before I begin, I just want to say this is going to be a bit of a longer presentation, so everybody get comfy. But I think it's important that we really, this is the entirety of the budget that's going to be presented. So I do want to make sure that we spend the time to go through this and make sure that we look at all corners of the budget through this presentation. So with that being said, as I said, I'm really excited to walk you through this budget. I am presenting this budget this year because legally under the Ontario Strong Mayor legislation, this is actually the mayor's budget. But I want to be very clear that to my Richmond Hill residents, staff, and council that this is our budget, and in no way am I intending to exercise any strong mayor powers. I'm certainly open to discussion and working collaboratively throughout this process like we always have. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Regional Local Councillor Joe DiPaolo for his work as chair of the Budget Committee of the whole for this term and a lot of time now. And really thank you, and also the Richmond Hill City staff who dedicated countless hours to this important process. The time and effort that has been invested will become evident as we proceed through this presentation, and I'm really grateful to everyone who was involved for the care that you have throughout this entire process. So thank you very much to staff. Our budget is more than numbers on a page. It's about services that you can rely on every day, the infrastructure that keeps our city moving, and the investments that we're making to build a stronger, more connected community. It's an investment in what we value as a community. And I say we because the city's budget really is everybody's budget. It's your budget. It reflects all of our values and priorities and ensures that Richmond Hill remains vibrant, resilient, and welcoming for generations to come. We've created this budget with you in mind because Richmond Hill is your town and it's our town as well. Many people have put a lot of thought into this plan. It's shaped by the challenges we've faced, the progress we've made, and the opportunities that we see ahead. Whether it's fixing roads, upgrading parks, improving emergency services, or planning for future growth, this budget is about making sure Richmond Hill continues to be a great place to live, work, play, and raise a family. We know that the world is changing fast and we're adapting. We're trying to be smart with our spending, thoughtful with our planning, and focused on what matters most to our residents. So today, I'll walk you through where your tax dollars are going and what we're building and how we're preparing our future together. So let's get started. So I am very grateful for the council team and colleagues that I have had the pleasure of working with the past 3 years. This current Richmond Hill Council has steadied the waters, brought stability and respect back to council, and has worked collaboratively with staff to accomplish some great things. Our 2026 budget is a forward-looking, long-term financial strategy for our growth and evolving community. With our commitment to fiscal prudence and sound investment and continuous improvement, this budget reflects Richmond Hill's values and vision. It's our pledge to continue delivering high-quality services that the people of Richmond Hill rely on every day. Today, I'll show you how we're putting the focus on people and how we're maximizing every tax dollar to deliver the most to our community. You'll see that this makes this budget a plan to help the city grow innovatively and sustainably, and how we're using tax dollars to prudently making smart investments and are always looking for ways to improve. I'll also share with you key accomplishments from 2025, highlights of the proposed 2026 budget, and recommendations for council's considerations. So how do we build the budget? Putting together Richmond Hill's budget is a 365-day job, informed by the city's strategic plan and the budget strategy, which is endorsed annually by this budget committee. City staff work closely with all departments to build the 2026 budget. We've looked at the forecasts and past trends and reviewed every single detail so that everything is taken into consideration. To hear from the community, we ran online surveys before the summer. We got lots of feedback and learned what the people of Richmond Hill value most, and we kept that top of mind when we were building this budget. We also shared the results with council that helped to shape department budgets. All this diligence and hard work ensures that we deliver the best budget to our community and the best services people rely on every single day. That's why we take every tax dollar seriously. We plan and make decisions carefully, always with the people of Richmond Hill top of mind. We've invested in the essentials of roads, water, fire services, etc., while keeping costs under control, and we've made things more efficient. For example, Access Richmond Hill handled over 117,000 inquiries in the past year, and we're leading the way in waste diversion. Did you know that 68% of our waste is kept out of landfills? It not only saves money, but it also helps the environment. And in short, we strive to improve the lives of everyone every day. Our world is changing, and there are many things happening that affect our budget that are beyond our control. And here are a few examples. Inflation continues to drive the cost of everything up for everyone every day. That means that the city is also paying more and more to deliver the same services to our community. The good news is that inflation has come down. In September, that number was 2.4%. The Bank of Canada further reduced its benchmark interest rate to 2.25% in October. That being said, some of the long-term contracts still carry higher costs from previous years. Richmond Hill is growing fast, and although that's a good thing, it also means that the city will have to deliver more. By 2031, we will welcome more than 25,000 new residents. That means that increased demand for housing, transit, and other day-to-day services, and the city will also need to maintain and build more infrastructure like roads and buildings. Provincial and federal legislative changes like updated recycling programs, development planning rules, and new housing targets are also beyond our control. These changes can shift priorities and costs overnight, impacting how we plan our budget. So how do we adapt to all of these uncertainties? In short, we're staying focused, flexible, and innovative to meet our community's evolving needs. And here are some examples of how we do it. We've repurposed vacant positions and held off on new hires. For example, only 4 new positions were added to this budget instead of the 42 originally projected. We've extended our Public Works Enhancement Program this funding phase from 8 to 10 years, and our new firefighters funding phase from 5 to 7 years. We've used our Tax Rate Stabilization Reserve Fund to pay for one-time costs like non-recurring studies. We increased our revenue opportunities by recovering costs from user fees that have a 2% indexing. We also recovered costs from non-tax supported programs to support our operating budget. We innovatively found new ways to save and earn, like making the sports dome usable year-round. And that helps us navigate this sea of change and uncertainty. To put it simply, the 3 pillars of Richmond Hill's strategic plan, they guide us in every decision that we make to ensure we're staying the course and heading in the right direction. A strategic plan is a long-term roadmap. It guides how Richmond Hill makes decisions, invests in projects, and delivers services. It sets clear goals based on what our community needs and explains how we'll reach them. For the budget, the strategic plan shows us where to spend money to improve services, infrastructure, and the quality of life, connecting big picture goals with everyday spending so every tax dollar is used wisely and transparently. And when it comes down to it, our strategic plan helps us match our financial resources to the city's priorities. This means that tax dollars go toward the things that matter most to our community while making clear how and why decisions are being made that way. It guides our long-term planning for infrastructure, services, and policies. It tracks progress with clear benchmarks so we can adjust as needed. And it invites the public to share ideas to help shape the future of our community. Our current 24 to 27 strategic plan is for both the community and the organization. It focuses on outward-facing priorities for those who call Richmond Hill home, as well as the internal work needed to support those goals. It's the principle that we use to align city goals, resources, and actions. The 2026 budget builds on the progress that we made in 2025 and keeps the momentum of implementing the strategic plan. Last year, we hit some significant milestones, from upgrading infrastructure and improving services to strengthening our finances. These successes give us a solid foundation for the years ahead. Our accomplishments last year show how the city has delivered services to the highest standards. It's part of our commitment to transparency, accountability, and continuous improvement. So here's what we've been doing to make our community greener, safer, and more livable. We've worked with residents and small businesses to plant almost 9,000 trees through our community stewardship program. We've created an affordable housing concierge program to help build homes for more people. We've fixed and upgraded 1,000 meters of roads, 850 meters of storm sewers, and 1,000 meters of water mains. We've expanded our traffic safety and operations strategy with 18 new traffic calming locations, almost done, and 15 more coming this year. We've completed Richmond Hill's first comprehensive zoning bylaw to set modern development standards. And we've achieved these accomplishments with the help of people in Richmond Hill in mind. And in 2025, we continued to keep the focus on people. We partnered with Miss Kawadaze Studio to create Indigenous medicine gardens at 5 locations across Richmond Hill. We worked with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation to develop Ojibwe waterway signage in support of the Truth and Reconciliation 94 calls to action. We delivered 9,800 recreation programs with more than 64,000 participants. And our community and cultural grant program supported 25 projects with a record $96,200 in funding. We trained 173 firefighters to NFPA standards and provided over 18,000 hours of specialized training to keep our community and our firefighters safe. And we've opened a new cultural center in the historic old post office building in the village core. These accomplishments were built on the strong foundations, so last year we continued to strengthen them more. We approved over $1 billion in building permits for close to 1,300 projects, from homes to businesses and industrial buildings. We completed the city's new responsible pet ownership and animal regulation bylaw. And as I said earlier, Access Richmond Hill handled a staggering 17,804 inquiries, which is 3,000 more than last year. And speaking of customer service, we also launched our first service charter to clearly set expectations for our service standards, essentially a pledge to our customers. And we've updated the corporate asset management plan to better plan and forecast for the facilities and infrastructure in our growing and evolving community. I've only chosen a few of the 2025 accomplishments to show you today because there's simply too many to list here. So looking back at 2025, we've learned what matters most to the people of Richmond Hill. This insight shaped the plans in our budget. That 2026 budget is about keeping essential services strong, investing in infrastructure, and making sure our finances stay healthy in a very uncertain world. So Richmond Hill continues to be a vibrant, resilient, and well-managed community. By focusing on continuous improvement and innovation, we've been making significant strides to increase efficiency at every level of our organization, so that we can deliver the very best services to our community. Since 2018, we've used the lean management philosophy to cut waste and improve how we work. This means focusing on what matters most for people while using fewer resources. It's about reducing red tape, streamlining processes, and finding innovative ways to deliver great services. And here are some examples of what I'm talking about. Through this continuous improvement program, we've saved $2.7 million between 2022 and 2025. In early 2025, we moved to a 24/7 bylaw enforcement by converting 8 parking enforcement officers, or CSOs, into positions of community standards officers at a cost of only $2,000 per year. CSOs now handle parking plus urgent bylaw issues like noise, tree cutting, and road obstructions, even overnight and on weekends. We've also launched an after-hours bylaw line, routing calls directly to the CSOs, thus eliminating the need for one after-hours officer and redeploying them to a higher demand area, keeping service levels strong. By making these changes, we've improved the city's service delivery with faster responses, including 500 after-hours complaints resolved within 1 hour. And at the same time, we reduced staff sick time, increased our parking fine revenue. So last year, we changed the game by reintroducing the municipal inspector role and converting some senior positions to these roles. By the end of this year, the team will have 5 senior inspectors and 3 municipal inspectors instead of 8 senior-only positions. This made hiring easier because we've tapped into a bigger talent pool, set clear career paths for inspectors to grow, and last but not least, save money through lower salary costs. We've launched the water e-billing portal in 2024, and this portal gives people a more convenient way to see their water bills and pay them online, anytime and anywhere. That means mailing out fewer paper bills for the city, and it saved us over $50,000 and counting. Not to mention improving our customer service levels. And the Canada Post disruptions really highlighted to many why signing up for water e-billing is a smart thing. Less paper means fewer cut trees, and we're not done saving trees. We're launching a portal for property tax billing next year, so please stay tuned for that. Now the time has come to take a dive into our 2026 budget. But first, how does a municipal budget work? Richmond Hill's budget, like all other municipalities' budgets, are made up of 2 parts. There's the operating budget and the capital budget. The operating budget covers the city's day-to-day costs, things like waste collection, snow clearing, recreation programs, IT, utilities, and insurance. And it also funds the library and keeps our assets in good shape. The operating budget is tax and rate supported, which means that property taxes, water fees, user fees, as well as our reserves are used. The capital budget, on the other hand, covers the city's big projects like building new infrastructure and keeping what we already have in good repair. Things like our roads, community centers, parks, and trails, and it's funded by reserves, development charges, and government grants. Simply put, the operating budget keeps our city running every day, and the capital budget builds and invests in our future. Together, they make sure that Richmond Hill stays safe, connected, and ready for growth. So taking a look at this graph, it shows the city's tax-supported operating budget compared to last year's overall budget. This part of the budget covers the day-to-day costs of running our city, like keeping our roads safe, maintaining parks, and delivering services. They are paid through different funding sources, but when there's a gap, we rely on property taxes to make up the difference. This is a good time to take a closer look into our property tax rate. Last year, we expected a 5.61% tax increase for 2026. But thanks to smart planning and cost-saving measures and a lot of work by our financial services staff, we've brought that number down. For 2026, we're proposing a 3.46% increase in the property tax rate. That breaks down into 2 parts: 1.96% to cover regular operating costs, and 1.5% to cover something called the Capital Asset Sustainability Levy. This is the Capital Sustainability Levy is a dedicated fund that helps us maintain and repair our infrastructure. Things like roads, buildings, and community centers, so they stay in good shape for years to come. Council introduced this strategy back in 2016, and starting in 2024, Council approved an annual increase of 1.5%. In 2026, this increase will bring in about $2 million, adding up to a total of $15 million for future infrastructure needs. To put this into perspective, the average single-family home in Richmond Hill, valued at $1.1 million, would have an annual property tax increase of about $75. This investment makes sure our city continues to run smoothly and our infrastructure is safe and reliable for future generations. And on the community front, I'm proud to share with you that Bayview Hill Park now has a major upgrade. Thanks to council's approvals, the park now features a brand new splash pad and a seasonal outdoor ice rink. They're perfect for family fun in both the sweltering summer heat and the icy winter. We're also improving the existing outdoor spaces to make the park even more enjoyable for families and residents of all ages, and our 2026 budget reflects the operating costs of these new amenities. On a more sobering note, for an unacceptably increasing number of people, the foundational part of feeling safe is simply having adequate shelter. And I'm committed, and I know this council is committed, to ensuring that everyone who chooses Richmond Hill as their home has a good place to live. This is a very complex issue, as we all know, and one we simply cannot ignore. In our budget, we're taking actions to provide more housing for more people. For instance, we're working to speed up the review and approval process of new developments and development applications. It means getting housing projects approved faster so that more homes can be built sooner. The City of Richmond Hill doesn't build homes, but we make sure that the building process runs smoother, faster, and better. Also, we need more hands on deck to help make all of this happen. So we're hiring a new senior planner. This person will help to process permits from applicants, whether it is for a high-rise or a pool permit, keeping up with the new legislation and complex projects, balance growth, and protect our neighborhood character as well as our green spaces. And we're putting people first in this 2026 budget. We'll invest in making Richmond Hill more inclusive, connected, and resilient. As always, we're committed to strengthening respectful and collaborative relations with our treaty partners. This means working closely with Indigenous communities through ongoing conversations, shared goals, and mutual respect. This is about building long-term partnerships. For example, the budget will support hosting of cultural events and ceremonies and creating a space for dialogue and learning. We're also expanding library programming with more STEM events, as well as creating studio activities like 3D printing, audio and video editing, and more. To make this happen, we're converting a part-time library technician into a full-time role. This role will give residents access to expert help with creative tools, give hands-on learning for all ages, and help turn our libraries into vibrant community hubs where people connect, create, and grow together. Did you know that our Richmond Green Sports Dome has only been available in colder months? In warmer seasons, it's taken down. This not only limits playtime, but also adds to wear and tear on the dome structure. And surely you remember the brutally hot summer that we had this year. So I'm proud to let you know that we're investing in installing air conditioning in the dome. This will not only make it comfortable to be in the dome all year round, but it will also add more hours of sports playing, save maintenance costs on the dome, and extend its lifespan. This really is a win-win situation because the change also brings in about $450,000 benefit to the budget to help reduce the tax impact and meet our growing community's needs. And I'm excited to share with you how we're making Richmond Hill more modern, responsive, and resident-focused in 2026. Following the success of the water billing portal, early next year, we're launching a new online property tax billing portal that will make it easier than ever for you to manage and pay your tax bills. You'll be able to log in anytime and anywhere to see your account, make payments, check past bills, and sign up for e-billing. It will be secure, convenient, and it's designed to save time and the number of trees that we cut down to print the paper bills. We're also strengthening our digital infrastructure to keep your personal information safe. This includes hiring a new IT security analyst as approved by council, and it's continuing to invest in innovative technologies like data analysis and GIS mapping. These upgrades help us make better decisions and deliver services more efficiently. Improving customer service is another big priority. We're rolling out a multi-year customer service strategy to make everything more efficient and every interaction with the city online, on the phone or in person, and ensuring that these interactions are smooth, consistent, timely, and helpful. This means better tools for staff and faster responses for customers. In 2026, we'll begin major upgrades to how we deliver our services, train our staff, and track performance. The goal is to build trust and satisfaction by making it easier for everyone to get the help that they need. We also know that things don't just happen during business hours. That's why we're introducing a new after-hours call center. Right now, urgent calls outside of regular hours go to fire dispatch, who also need to handle emergencies. With this change, a dedicated service provider will answer non-emergency calls, follow city-approved procedures, and make sure urgent issues like water main breaks or fallen trees get to the right people quickly. This helps us respond faster and keeps emergency lines clear for life-saving situations. So let's talk about how we got here. I'll walk you through how we built this year's budget, its numbers, and the story behind them. We've started out with a simple question. How do we keep delivering the services that everyone relies on every day while facing rising costs? We looked into every corner of our budget to find efficiencies, trim, and make smart choices. While we're facing rising costs that are out of control, this is how we can keep delivering the services that the people of Richmond Hill rely on every day, like garbage pickup, snow clearing, and parks and library services. Take rising inflation and contract costs. These alone added almost $3.3 million to our budget just to try to keep things running as they are. Then there's the new legislation that affects how we operate. Things like changes to minimum wages and Blue Box recycling program, these added about $120,000 to our costs. And every bit counts, even when it doesn't seem that big. And then there are the decisions we made in 2025 budgets that have had an impact for 2026, such as the 12 new full-time staff that we hired mid-year to meet growing demands. The full year costs of these decisions add about $320,000 to our budgets. But there is some good news. Richmond Hill is growing, and we're investing in that growth. As I mentioned, we're enhancing amenities like the new Bayview Hill splash pad with outdoor winter ice rink and the year-round operating of the Richmond Green Sports Dome. It's important to add these enhancements along with anticipated taxes from new development, and that actually lowered our budget by $970,000, all thanks to smart planning. Amid all of these, we continue to think long-term and plan for our growing community's future. We've added a 1.5% capital sustainability levy to make sure our roads, buildings, and infrastructure stay in good shape for years to come. And I think it's important to remember that out of every tax dollar, only about 1/4 of it goes to Richmond Hill, and we use that portion to run our city. In 2026, that's 28%. That 28% is the city of Richmond Hill's 100%. And this is the breakdown of how we make the most of that money. For example, 15 cents of every Richmond Hill tax dollar go to fire and emergency services, 11 cents go to infrastructure renewal, 5 cents goes to the library, and 3 cents goes to road maintenance. And 5 cents is used to maintain our roads, sidewalks, trails, and windrows throughout the winter, basically from November to April. And it's our responsibility as a council and our duty to make sure that we make the most of every tax dollar. We work hard to do more with less, without compromising the quality of services the people of Richmond Hill always rely on. And rest assured that you have our commitment to always find the most innovative ways to stretch every dollar further to make the lives of everyone in our community better. The money that we use to take care of our water, wastewater, and stormwater system comes from water rates that residents pay. This keeps things like pipes, treatment centers, or treatment plants, and drainage working properly. The 2026 budget follows the plans Council set out back in 2024, which include future rate increases. These increases aren't just numbers. They help us save for the future and make sure our water and drainage systems stay in good shape for everyone. Water, wastewater, and stormwater are not words you hear every day, but trust me, they are important to everyday life. It's about the water we drink, the systems that keep our homes safe, and the infrastructure that we rely on every single day. And back in 2024, Council reviewed our long-term financial plans for water, wastewater, and stormwater. We looked ahead at what it will cost to maintain the pipes, the treatment plants, and the storm drains, and how we could keep those systems strong without putting too much financial pressure on our families that live in Richmond Hill. The plan we landed on strikes a balance between affordability and protecting us from future risks. It helps us build up reserve funds and prepare for the debt payments we'll need to keep our infrastructure in good working shape. So here's what we're proposing for 2026. A 6.1% increase for water and wastewater rates, and a 50% increase for stormwater management. And I know that that second number sounds very big, but the actual dollar amount isn't as high as it sounds because stormwater rates make up only a small portion of every bill. For the average Richmond Hill home, that uses about around 170 cubic meters of water a year on a property that's approximately 7,000 square feet. The increase translates to about $110 a year, or just over $9 a month. And it goes directly to keeping our water clean, our basements dry, and our infrastructure strong for generations to come. For years, stormwater rates haven't kept up with the growing needs of our community, and now we're playing catch up. This necessary increase helps us do that responsibly. So that was the operating budget. Now let's take a few minutes to talk about the capital budget. In other words, how we're investing in Richmond Hill's future by making sure our roads, parks, fire stations, and water systems stay strong, safe, and ready to serve the community for years to come. We've consistently made smart investments that strengthen the foundation of our community and shape the spaces where we live, work, and play. So in short, the capital budget is our long-term investment plan. It's different from the operating budget that covers the city's day-to-day expenses. The capital budget is about the big stuff, like maintaining buildings and fixing roads, upgrading parks, replacing fire trucks, and making sure our water and stormwater systems are ready for whatever weather comes our way. These are assets that we rely on every day, and they need to be maintained, upgraded, and sometimes even replaced to keep everything running smoothly. In this budget, we're planning 151 projects. These projects were carefully chosen based on what matters most to our community. We're focusing on the most critical infrastructure needs. We're fixing what needs fixing, and building where we're growing. And in total, we're investing about $121 million in 2026, which is a significant increase from the $89 million or so in 2025. That jump shows that we're serious about keeping Richmond Hill strong and future ready. So let's talk about what's in the capital budget. First, we're investing about $3 million in 17 strategic projects that help us plan for the future. These include updates to our fire master plan, traffic improvements across the city, and environmental plans for places like Valleyland and Lake Wilcox. We're also preparing for major transit changes like the Yonge North Subway extension, which will feature 2 stops in Richmond Hill, and updating our community benefits charge strategy to make sure that we're keeping pace with the growth of our city. Next, we've got 28 design projects worth about $10 million. These design projects are the blueprints for future construction, laying the groundwork for upgrades to parks, community center, and city infrastructure. We're designing the revitalization of Mill Pond Park, planning repairs at Silver Stream Park, and we're also preparing to expand our operations center. Over at the community centers, we'll be installing solar panels at Tom Grant Arena and renovating change rooms at the Bayview Hill Community Center. Construction is where all the action happens, and we're putting $84 million into 62 projects that will be built or upgraded next year. These include major park improvements at Town Park and Unity Park, a brand new park in North Leslie, and the extension of Vogel Road with the new bridge over the Rouge River. We're reconstructing Maple Grove Avenue. We're building the new Dave Barra Civic Square near the Central Library, and we're upgrading the roofs of fire stations and community centers to keep our facilities safe and efficient. And finally, we're investing about $23 million in close to 50 projects that support the behind-the-scenes work that keeps our city running. That means replacing a fire engine, resurfacing roads, upgrading our fleet and IT systems, improving libraries, and installing energy-efficient LED lighting in city facilities. We're even adding a new wall padding in the gymnasiums at our community centers to keep our families safe. Now let's look at what the capital budget invests in our community. These are real, tangible results that you'll see and feel in our neighborhoods. When it comes down to growth and new services, we're investing in projects that support our growing population and expanding neighborhoods. These projects are guided by our official plan and our master plans. These plans help us decide where and when to build. At the same time, we use our corporate asset management plan to figure out when existing infrastructure needs repairs or upgrades. So we're not just building new, we're also taking care of what we already have. People and businesses in Richmond Hill rely on our public assets every single day. Whether it's the roads you drive on, the parks your kids play in, the buildings where you access city services, or the courts that you play pickleball on, these investments matter. They're about making life better, safer, more efficient, and yes, even more fun. We're adding 3 kilometers of new roads and roadway improvements. That includes sidewalks, streetlights, and landscaping. They are what make a street both safe and welcoming. We're also upgrading over 2 kilometers of sanitary sewers and building about 2.5 kilometers of new storm sewers to handle rainwater and protect our homes and the environment. On top of that, we're installing new and improved pedestrian crossovers and traffic signals at 15 locations to make getting around safer for everyone. And we're upgrading 5 outdoor recreation parks to give families more places to play, relax, and connect. And when it comes to maintaining what we already have to make sure that they're in a state of good repair, that is plain and simple smart investing. That means that investments in existing capital assets to maintain the current functionality, condition, lifespan, and use for community services. We're talking about maintaining and improving the infrastructure that's already serving our communities, like roads, buildings, water systems, parks, and more. These are the things that we use every day, and it's our duty to make sure that they are safe, reliable, and in good working condition. In 2026, we're making some important upgrades. We're resurfacing and reconstructing 27 lane kilometers of roads to make your drive safer and more comfortable. We're replacing traffic signal equipment at 5 key intersections to improve safety and efficiency. And we're upgrading 3.5 kilometers of water mains to make sure we have clean, reliable, and clean water continues to flow to our homes and businesses. But it's not just about the roads and the pipes. We're also investing in our natural spaces. We're restoring nearly 14 hectares of natural areas, helping to protect our environment and improve the health of our community. And we're making renovations and repairs at 20 city facilities from community centers to fire stations so that they can continue to serve our growing community. These investments might not always be flashy, but they're absolutely essential. So let's look at the budget breakdown. This year, we're investing $121.1 million into Richmond Hill's infrastructure. That's over $31 million more than last year. This increase reflects our commitment to keeping up with growth, maintaining what we've built, and making sure our services continue to meet the needs of our community. When we build or repair something, whether it's a road, a park, or a water system, it's not just about the thing that we're repairing. It's about the service that it's providing. That's why we align our capital budget with the services that drive the need for those investments. It gives us a clear picture of the long-term costs of delivering services, and it helps council make smart and informed decisions about where to invest next. And in 2026, we're focusing our investments on the areas that matter most to people. We're putting $33.5 million into roadway systems to improve traffic flow and safety. Parks and outdoor recreation will see $23.2 million in upgrades, giving families more places to play and gather. And stormwater management will get $17.3 million to protect homes and the environment. We're investing $13.9 million in wastewater collection, $11.2 million in municipal services, and $7.2 million in water distribution to keep our systems reliable. Recreation facilities will also get $6.9 million. Library services will get $3.1 million, and fire services $3.2 million to support emergency response. We're also investing $800,000 in cultural services and $780,000 in active transportation, things like bike lanes and pedestrian paths that help people get around safely and sustainably. So saying the capital budget creates our future is not an exaggeration. Let's look at some of the highlights from the pillars of our strategic plan. First, here's how we're making our community better and more livable. We're continuing to implement the Dave Barrow Civic Square Master Plan to build a new community gathering place. We're developing the new North Leslie East Community Park, also known as Heron View Park. We're contributing to the York Region Markham Richmond Hill joint project of a new Highway 404 overpass north of 16th Avenue. We're developing a master plan for Valley Land rehabilitation, and we're updating the Lake Wilcox management plan. And as I said in my opening remarks, this budget reflects what we value the most. That's why it's always and forever about people. Here's just some examples of how our capital budget invests with a focus on people. Adding new indoor pickleball courts at Rouge Woods and Richvale community centers to respond to the user demand and improve recreation opportunities. Updating the public art policy to reflect evolving community values and support diverse artistic expression. And revitalizing Unity Park and installing a memorial to honor Flight PSM 52 victims. Finally, our foundations. The very word says it all. Everything we do relies on the foundations on which we stand. It's as simple as that. Just a few examples of the investments that we're making to keep that foundation strong. We'll assess the condition of facilities and exterior facades. We'll renovate the third floor of the Central Library to improve public space and enhance service delivery. We'll advance GIS data and analytics capability to improve decision-making and service delivery. And that pretty much wraps up the capital budget. So what does this all mean for the average Richmond Hill resident? If you own an average single detached home assessed at around $1.1 million, you'll see an increase of about $75 on your city's portion of your property tax in 2026. That includes roughly $42 to help cover the city's day-to-day operation and roughly $32 to help the city maintain and renew its infrastructure that we rely on. And that's the 3.46% increase in terms of dollar terms. Now, when we factor in the expected increases from York Region and the school boards, your property tax bill will go up at about $257 for an average residential property. That's about 3.05 increase overall. York Region has still not finalized their rate, but will do so later in the month. So this number will get finalized shortly. For water and wastewater and stormwater services, the average household using 170 cubic meters of water a year and sitting on a property of about 7,000 square feet will see an increase of about $112. So when you add it all up, the total impact for the average household is about $369 in total for the entire year. That works out to approximately $30 a month, or just over $1 a day. And for that dollar, we're maintaining getting clean water, safe roads, reliable emergency services, great parks, and the kind of community infrastructure that makes Richmond Hill a great place to be. And this is the information that we have about 2026 tax increases across York Region and other comparable municipalities. And keep in mind, some of these increases may not be final numbers, but the graph shows that the result of our work to keep our tax increase as low as possible while continuing to provide the services our community needs and deserves. We might not be the lowest, but we are certainly balancing the needs and wants and prudently managing city spending and our tax dollars collected. And let's take a quick glance at where we stand for a 5-year average property tax increase compared to other municipalities in York Region. As you can see, we're about 1% above the lowest tax increase and about 5% below the highest tax increase. And that's the Richmond Hill 2026 budget. Richmond Hill has always been a city built on innovation, diversity, and resilience. This budget reflects that spirit. We're putting our dollars where they matter the most. We're investing in the roads, the parks, the services, and the infrastructure that support our families, our businesses, and our way of life. With this budget, I'm confident that we're ready to take on whatever comes, and we're doing it together with collaboration, care, and a shared commitment to making Richmond Hill the very best that it can be. Once again, I want to take this opportunity to thank our city staff who have always worked tirelessly to develop this budget. It was a huge and very important undertaking, so thank you very much. And if anybody on the public watching this would like to find out more or get the latest updates on our budget, you can go to our website at RichmondHill.ca /budget. So thank you very much for listening to all of that. That was a little bit longer than usual, but I do appreciate your patience. And I think what we should do now is if and when there's questions and discussion, we'll tag team with myself and Gigi to answer any of those questions from there. So I'll send it back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.